Good morning. So today in Acts 14, God is provoking a thought in me. In verse 15, Paul's speaking. He says, and saying, Sirs, why do you these things? We also are men of like passions with you, and preach unto you that you should turn from these vanities unto the living God, which made heaven and earth and the sea and all things that are therein, who in times past suffered all nations to walk in their own ways. Nevertheless, he left not himself without witness, in that he did good and gave us rain from heaven and fruitful seasons, filling our hearts with food and gladness. So, right? I'm just like, wow, he did good. He gave us rain. He gave us fruitful seasons. He, filled our hearts with food and gladness, all these things. And I'm like, yes, that's how I see God, right? He's a gracious and good God. But there are a lot of people right now going through situations and they're asking, why did God let this happen? Why did this have to happen to so-and-so or this and that? And they're valid questions, right? I get it, that those are realities. We have human nature. We want understanding. I get the question. But instead of pointing our finger at God, why did God allow this to happen? Because, by the way, allowance doesn't mean that's what he wants, wills, or desires. That's not what that means. Again, he suffered us, right, to walk in our own ways. He doesn't force us. He doesn't control us. But instead of saying, why did God, why don't we say, why did man do this? Because that's the person who did it. They're the one who made the offense. And when God created us, he didn't create us full of sin. Go all the way back to the garden. Let me get there in a minute. God is just, all right? God's righteous judgment is going to be perfect in its timing. And how do we even know that people aren't technically being judged already? We can't see everything in their lives, especially the internal. We don't know the internal struggle someone is going through, and they very well could be being judged. But let's go to the example all the way back to the garden, right? God, Adam and Eve, they were perfect. Things were great, right? Then Satan enters in, and we know sin enters in. God was not in the midst of that conversation and of those actions. That was man, woman, and Satan, not God. And God did punish. So, we're so quick. Why are they getting away with this? No, God does punish sin. All right, it's not okay, right? The wages of sin is death. Right? The wages of sin is death. God did punish. We know that Adam had to work. The earth was cursed. The serpent was going to be on his belly and eat dust and bruise his head. We know the animals and the earth groan is what it tells us in Romans. We know that Eve, was going to have to suffer in childbearing and be subject to her husband like he did. He did execute punishment, but here's the goodness of God. He also provided. In lieu of that sin, because he covered them in coats of skin. Where does a coat of skin come from? An animal. So how would you get that coat of skin from the animal? You'd have to sacrifice that, or kill that animal, in this case sacrifice. And we know that there had to be a blood sacrifice, and Jesus provided for us. This isn't necessarily what that's about, but God did punish, and he did also provide. In Psalm 18, he tells us he's merciful with the merciful, he's upright with the upright, pure with the pure, and forward with the forward. How do you see God? Because how you see him, how you perceive him, is how he's going to be towards you. And not even because that's who he is, it's because that's only who you're willing to see him as. Guys, we're all going to stand before God. We're all going to bow our knee before God. There's going to be two judgments, one for believers, one for unbelievers. And here's the thing. Man is quick. Man is really quick to believe and trust in what he can't see. I'll believe and trust in what I think or what I want to believe. But he's not quick to believe and trust in what he can't see. Right? But why not? It's a choice that we get. There's going to come a day. Are we going to believe it? Are we going to receive it? God said, and there's those other people who are like, what about those who never heard about Jesus, this and that? Listen, Romans 1:18 on. We are going to be without excuse. Everything that he created is going to know. It says it. He's revealed it unto them. It says that he's known and manifest himself unto them. All of his creation knows. And those who seek him, he will be found. That's another promise of God. So instead of wanting to put blame on God and act as if this is what he wanted, that's not who God is. God did not want that. He created perfect. He even gave judgment. He even provided for judgment. But he also says he'll take what is evil, what the enemy means for evil, and he'll turn it for good. So we get a choice. We get a choice. Are we going to believe, and are we going to receive? Because we're not going to be able to say we didn't know. We're not going to be able to say he didn't know. Scripture's made that clear. God is good. Let's end it with that again. He left himself without witness, and that he did good, gave us rain from heaven and fruitful seasons, filling our hearts with food and gladness. That's who God is. Instead of shaking your fist at him and refusing to hear or believe anything that is said about him, that he said about him, not man, how about asking him for yourself, seeking him for yourself, because he will be found. And maybe you won't get a full understanding, maybe you will. I hope you do. But there's grace, there's joy, there's love, there's covering, there's provision, there's instruction, there's all these other things about God that he's wanting and willing to give us, because he is good. Give God a shot, all right? Invite him to reveal himself to you, instead of just believing whatever the enemy wants you to believe. All right, be blessed.